Welcome back to episode 46 of Blurred Summits. Today, we're going to be talking about FOMO. So we're going to talk about what FOMO is, why we feel FOMO, and ways to overcome it.
Sure.
So Abdul, what actually is FOMO?
So FOMO is the fear of missing out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a term that's arisen in the past couple of years, right? And basically it's, when your friends go hang out without you and you're kind of feeling a little bit left out, then you have FOMO, and it's kind of like, this disease, but it's not really a disease,
You're just scared to be left out of
exactly.
plans.
It's that fear of missing out. It's literally what it stands for. So that's kind of what it is. I'm sure a lot of us know what it is. It's like a very common term.
I feel like social media is a major driver for this too, right? It just makes it all way worse than what it actually is.
We are definitely going to be talking about that coming up here. So kind of look at, where does FOMO come from a scientific standpoint, right? Like taking
the science, the real.
Let's look at the actual science of where this comes from. So where does it come from? When you look at yourself, it comes from low levels of competence, autonomy, and relatedness. So what are these three things? So low levels of competence. A person who feels like they don't have the skills in life.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Like people who are just, if you aren't doing as well for yourself in life, in whatever way you define that, you're more likely going to have FOMO. Next is autonomy.
That's like the inability to do things by yourself, right? Autonomous?
You feel like you don't have control over yourself.
Okay.
Right? So a person who has autonomy, they can decide their own life for themselves. They can
they're
make their own decisions. Yeah, exactly. They're independent.
Yeah.
Independent. There you go. And that's what autonomy is. And then relatedness is your connection to your network of people around you, right? So people who are high in relatedness, they have good social circles. They have like a lot of friends around them. They have a tight connection with the people in their lives.
Is that why they feel FOMO?
No, so people who have low relatedness feel FOMO. So people who aren't well connected, don't have strong, meaningful connections with people around them, they are more likely to have FOMO.
So I would have thought it might have been the other way, where it's like, hey, I have all these ties go and doing stuff. Oh, damn, that sucks.
Well, I think not, because this is kind of the counterintuitive element of it, is that if you really do have strong ties with the people around you in your life, then you don't have that insecurity.
Okay.
Right?
Got it.
But if you are kind of like, you have a weak connection to your friends, you have a weak connection to your family.
Oh, then you're scared that they just don't want you to be there.
Then you're
it's like all that other stuff.
You're afraid of missing out.
Got it.
Right?
That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's the bit I guess lots of people might not understand, right? It's not, hey, I'm so close to them that it's scary.
It's chewing on my eyes.
Inverse.
I probably shouldn't be doing it.
But it's the opposite. It's right. I feel like I'm losing them. So them go doing things makes me feel like that tie is just getting weaker and weaker and weaker.
Exactly.
Which I guess makes sense why it can be so scary sometimes.
100%. The next thing is like, it's not necessarily causing FOMO, but it's correlated to it. So low mood and satisfaction with life and depression. So these things, they've just found with people with a lot of FOMO, usually have low mood, low satisfaction in life, and are depressed.
So which way do you think it is? Which do you think is the cause and which is the effect? Do you think FOMO is the cause of depression, or do you think depression is the cause of FOMO?
I don't think it's either one. So I don't think either one causes it. I think it's
they both have another root cause that isn't
the other. I think they're just two things that are closely related to each other. I can definitely see how a person with low mood can have higher FOMO because they make things bigger in their own heads.
Or do they have... are they more like sad and more depressed because they have this FOMO?
Exactly. So, it's
tough. One that goes back and forth, right? Like if you pulled the data on, I'm sure you might be able to figure out which way it goes, but most likely it is probably, something, there's a bigger root cause at the two of them, and they both kind of grow from the same tree, from the same seed, I guess is the way to put it.
Same tree. That was a good
same
point.
Seed. Yeah. I messed up, but same seed.
Is it the same seed?
Well, if they're growing from the same, I guess, they could both be fruits growing from the same tree.
Now this is a big one. You touched on it at the beginning of the episode, and we're going to be focusing on it a lot. is that FOMO is very closely tied to social media use. So people who use social media more are significantly more likely to have FOMO.
Well, is half of it because they're seeing people's posts on social media of them doing things, or is it the other stuff with it? Is there like another root cause of social media that's not seeing your friends go do things that's making it worse?
Yeah, we'll touch on a couple of those. It's interesting, like, social media is just a bit of one of those whirlwinds of bad things.
Well, yeah, it's like inevitably, like, there's not really much. Can you name a good that comes from social media? Because
not really.
There's not really an innate good from social media, right? Yeah. That's like the biggest issue with it.
No, I even read this study one time that looked at like 5 big social media platforms, and it found that it looked like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and YouTube.
I wouldn't consider. I'm surprised YouTube's a.
I consider YouTube a social media platform, and it found like, I'm pretty sure, I'm paraphrasing this. I don't have it exactly, to my head, but they found no positive relationship between anything in social medias except for one of them. The only one that they could find slight positive attachment was YouTube. Yeah. So that was the only one that they could find, because you could gather information from it. You could increase your knowledge base.
There's news. There's all this other stuff there, right? Like, you look at the Facebook, it's all just people spreading false information. Instagram, it's people doing things, making their lives seem better than they appear. Snapchat, roughly the same thing. Which one am I missing? Twitter, yeah. People complaining or posting, again, more fake information or hatred and things like that, right?
Yeah, I think they found the worst ones was Instagram was the worst, followed by Facebook, followed by Instagram, followed by Twitter, followed by YouTube. I think you said
Instagram in there twice. You missed out on Snapchat.
Snapchat was Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat.
Yeah, you said Instagram.
Oh, okay. Did I? Yeah.
Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter. Because YouTube's at least. Twitter's the closest to YouTube, where it's kind of more for information, but Instagram has nothing to do with information. Yeah,
Instagram is just the worst one. I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong, but from all the literature I've seen, it seems like Instagram and personal experience, absolutely. Instagram definitely seems to be like the worst one.
Well,
overall.
the two that I'm used the most is YouTube and Twitter. I actually check Twitter a lot because it's like my way of getting news, because I don't read the newspaper and I hate just Googling random stuff. So I'll just kind of go in the new noteworthy, like for like COVID and stuff. I'll click Alberta COVID and it'll pull up all the tweets and all that other stuff. It's kind of a way to find all the news articles in one place without having to Google, right?
Plus, the nice thing about Twitter is that it forces you to keep it short, right? Like 240 characters or whatever.
Unless you put like 30 different things back to back.
Yeah.
Plus, it's not because pictures, I think, is where people get messed up with. At least the FOMO side of things. We'll go back to that.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just something about Instagram where it's almost like the subliminal mandate of Instagram is to put out the best aspects of your life into the world, and to make it seem to make your life seem as amazing as possible. Yeah, that's the objective.
Well, I think
Instagram.
That's the one thing with Twitter. Twitter is just straight up raw. People are saying exactly how they feel. It's what they're actually.
They're just mini blogs.
Yeah, it's people saying, "Hey, I just did this thing and I just fell down the stairs. I did all this other stuff.
I just fell down the stairs.
I don't know. That's just people just saying whatever happened.
Yeah.
Oh, this dumb thing just happened to me. Whatever, right? Whereas Instagram, there's no really comedy behind it unless you go for like a meme page. But like the actual like personal things, it's all about. Yeah. Hey, let me show off what I did, where I went, what we're doing, all this other stuff, right? And it's just toxic.
It is pretty toxic. Yeah, another thing with FOMO that they found is people who have FOMO more likely to check their social medias the second they wake up, right before they go to bed, and during their meals. So, again, what is the causation? What is we're not exactly sure, but we do know the two things are correlated.
That
right?
They're checking it and FOMO.
Checking it and FOMO, especially checking it right when you wake up, right when you go to bed, right before you go to bed, and during your meals, right? And one of the rationales behind it is that people who experience FOMO are in desperate need to ensure that they're not missing out.
Yeah, that's what I think. It's
right.
Like, so are they checking their socials because they have FOMO, or are they having FOMO because they're checking their socials?
I think it's both, but I think it's probably leaning more towards the side of they're getting FOMO because they are checking their social medias right when they wake up. Because think about it, if the first thing that's on your mind is I need to check social media to make sure that my friends didn't hang out without me, or that nothing big happened when I was asleep, then like that's so psychotic.
It's like how like that driving your life would be.
Right, it's driving your life. It's driving your life.
Like it's one thing. I don't know what you. For me, it's usually school. That's like the thing that I think. Wake up.
Yeah.
Like it's like if I submitted an assignment a week ago, first thing I wake up, I'll check D2L, I'll see if my grades are up.
Really?
Or that, or I'll be thinking about
once upon a time.
Or I'll think about an assignment, or I'll be thinking about school. Like I know for me, it's school, not necessarily.
That's interesting.
But it is like
I don't even know what I think about when I first wake up. Nothing, bro. I'm just a dead brain.
Well, I'll wake up like, I wonder if they posted that mark. And innately this morning, one of my marks should get posted.
Maybe that's not good. Maybe I should be caring about what my mark posting
maybe it's also the bad thing, but it's like there's other things that I think are more important than what other people are doing to wake up to, right? Like if you're thinking about some deep thought, good. I think school is okay. Probably not the best because but it's
you don't want anything to really be taking over your mind in the morning, hey? Except a passion for life.
But except living. You are like when you are in school and getting close to like all that stuff, right? That is obviously what's primarily on your mind. So I think it's logical.
Shows that you care.
I think it's logical, personally. That's what kind of I'm thinking about. But I don't know. Maybe I just overthink the school stuff. And I'm just thinking, mind always going.
Yeah, no. I think I definitely used to obsessively check my marks as well.
I don't. Yeah. Well, usually for me, it's before I go to bed. When I wake up, that's actually those ones.
And then it's like FOMO from school.
Well, no, when I'm bored, that's basically when I'm bored. I'm like, okay, I guess we'll just double check, see if they post it. No, funny. Okay, but then it's not like I'm like constantly checking it. Like I'll check it probably when I wake up, when I go to bed, and then
probably during meals.
No, probably like when I'm first sitting down for the day for a class, because then I'm always on D2L. But the thing is, though, all the TAs, right? They've got some weird sleep schedules, man. They post stuff at weird times. That's the other reason. It's because they'll post it at like 3 a.m. So then you wake up, oh, there it is. Or like 9 p.m. they post it. So
what do you think is like people who have FOMO? How do you think, let's say I give you a crowd of people and I told you, spot the person who has FOMO. Like point out the person who has FOMO. What are some things that you're looking for that you're like, bam, that person has FOMO?
I've got no idea. What? I don't think from
you know what I'm saying?
From like an outside perspective.
From an outside perspective. What does FOMO look like? How does it actually manifest itself? So we spoke about social media use. What else?
I have got no idea. What?
Come on, nothing like a person.
Well, it's all mental. Like that's the thing for me. It's all in your head. Like there's no like obvious unless they're like constantly on their phone like this. That might be the only one. But like the other things, they're all in their head.
I'll give you an example. An interrogative personality.
Okay, so that's internal. You can't tell, hey, this person is standing there. You can't tell, hey, that person... What are you talking about?
I can tell if a person's interrogative. By them
just standing there like this. You can tell if they're interrogative.
Okay, let's say like a person in your life. Like a person in your life.
No, they have FOMO. Yeah, like they're always trying to figure out what you're doing.
Okay.
They're constantly kind of trying to check... I guess it's the same one. They're constantly checking up on you.
Yeah.
What else is there? Throw me a bone.
I told you, interrogative personality.
Like, well, that's the same idea as basically what I said.
Yeah. Or like when questions are asked, they aren't asked out of curiosity's sake.
Like it's like
they're asked out of I need to be in the loop.
So here's when you're like hitting up people, but with an internal dialogue that's like or an underlying dialogue. So like they hit someone up, hey, how's it going with this underlying thing? Yeah, that is their true intent behind.
Right.
Like it's like hitting someone up for an intent that's not just
what to check comes off at face value.
Yeah,
there is this.
Like if they're doing it to get a conversation going to get to an answer,
right?
Which I think can lead to some people to be super defensive when someone asks, "Hey, how's it going?" or something, because they innately lots of people feel like you're trying to get something from them when you're doing that, right?
Yeah,
which we've talked about in the past with like the yes questions, except it's different. It's like, "Hey, how's it going?" I wonder. There's been a couple times where I've checked up on some people and they're like, Hey, is there anything in specific you need? No, just check it out.
Yeah, I know.
You're like, oh, really?
Like, that's like a weird thing. When you just say
you're
hi.
Just doing it, or you're saying something just out the goodness, and then it's
like you just want to say hi. And the person's like, what the hell do you want?
Yeah. It's like, no, I don't want anything. I'm just trying to see how you do.
What a shame, hey, that we've gotten to a point where it's like, you can't even just say hi to a person because they think like, oh, you want something out of them.
Or you can ask
how things are going. Like,
what
oh my God. I hate that so much, bro. I literally hate that
but it's
so
like,
much. It's like, no, I don't want anything from you. You are so arrogant to believe that I would actually want something from you, okay?
Is it arrogance or is it them coming from experience, right?
It could just be like
because it's like they're like it's happened to them so often.
That is true.
That then it's just kind of innately that's kind of what it is. Like they expect there to be a kicker. It's not just checking up on them. Hey, how's it going? Things good? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that's what it is. It's people are innately suspicious of you asking that. Because people want to tell you how their days are going, right? But when they've got trained to say, hey, it's this, and then it's really something about the person asking how it's going.
Yeah, especially if you don't normally talk to the person, and you kind of hit them up out of the blue, then they're like, wait, why is this person hitting me
But
up?
I mean, probably 95 times out of 100, that's the case, though. It's
true.
There's something. They need something, a problem to be resolved, or, I can only think of those two. But, there's something behind the scenes that needs to be addressed.
So, root causes of FOMO, right? One of the big root causes of FOMO is comparison. This is why social media is so deeply rooted with FOMO, because comparison leads to FOMO inevitably.
So is FOMO increased as social media has gone? Like,
yes.
Percentage of population, is it like perfectly like 1-to-1?
Social media has definitely increased with the increased use of social media. 100%. I would literally bet my life
I'm pretty sure. I think I knew the answer to that, but I was wondering if there was like actual data on it, like
Abdul's data. I'm telling you,
the graphs are like see how like similar the graphs were.
I haven't seen like exact quantitative data to like back it up. But I can say with like 90%, 95%.
Do you think it's an X percent people of social media, or the percentage of people that using social media that have FOMO is increasing as well?
I think just a general trend.
The more people, so say we'll block the number, 1 million people on social media.
Okay.
So before, do you think that of that million, 50% of people, we'll just say 50% roughly, are always like, it's always about 50% of people have FOMO? Or do you think as over time goes, that number is going 50%, 60%, 70%, 80% of people are having FOMO?
I think that's what it is. It's increasing.
The percentage of people on social media is increasing that have FOMO.
The percentage of people on social media yes.
Okay, that's
right. Like the longer that
I would have thought it would have been like as the social media increases,
and I'll tell you why.
The FOMO increases at a similar rate, then that would be staying the same. But
the reason that I think so is because comparison is an inevitable part of the human experience. So you can't ever not compare yourself to someone. You have to be, I don't know, some crazy person to like you're always going to be comparing yourself. What social media does is it kind of exemplifies that comparison, right? It doesn't just exemplify the comparison, it makes it so that you're comparing yourself to a false reality. Right? So that's just a mess waiting to happen, right? Montesquieu said a very amazing quote. He said, I'll read you this quote. It's one of my favorites. If one wished to be happy, this could easily be accomplished.
Didn't he get hung in France?
Don't worry about it.
During the French Revolution?
Just enjoy the quote.
He did,
okay?
didn't he? He totally did.
I have no idea.
I learned about him in...
Okay.
But
if one wished to be happy, this could be easily accomplished. But we wish to be happier than other people. And this is always difficult, for we believe others to be happier than they are. So he said, basically he says, if you want to be happy, easy. That's easy. You can easily be happy, but you don't want to be happy. You just want to be happier than the person next door.
It's all relative.
Exactly.
It's the relativity that catches people.
And if you're trying to do that, you're trying to be happier than the person next door, you're never going to get it because you don't know what's happening behind those closed doors.
You see them when they come out they walk outside for their 5 minutes a day.
You're always going to be thinking that it's better than it actually is.
And that's exactly what social media is.
100%.
A man's talking about social media 1600s, 300 plus years before it actually happened.
Yeah, well, it kind of just shows that these things existed forever. We're just re-experiencing the same things that existed.
It's becoming more prevalent now than before because you can see it at all times instead of it just being when you go outside.
Yeah.
So I guess that's why it's being happening way more with social media than in the past, right?
Yeah. The next root cause of FOMO is attention. So what does this mean? Now, attention is a finite resource that we have, meaning that you can only give your attention to X amount of things. After that, you're burnt out. You can't do it. You can't do it. Reason being is that your mind needs to filter out the world. If we took in everything that was happening around us and we gave attention to everything, we would explode. Because there's just so many things happening, right?
Or you wouldn't actually be paying attention to everything.
You wouldn't even be able to live. You wouldn't even be able to move because there's so much stuff happening. You'd just be paralyzed. So what your brain does is it blocks out that attention. It says, I only choose to give attention to this, right? So now that we know that attention is a finite resource, we need to choose where we put our attention. If you decide to place attention on yourself, then you don't have FOMO.
Yep.
Where FOMO exists, one of the root causes is when you put the attention, when you dedicate a large part of your attention to the lives of other people.
The issue with that is you can't even control what other people are doing.
And that's why. It's because if your attention is on the lives of other people, you don't have control over that.
You're
right?
you're just having to deal with what they do.
You're being dragged along for the ride. You have no self-autonomy. You have no control over your own life, your own experiences, your own happiness. And because of that, you're basically screwed.
Yeah.
You're basically
usually in
screwed.
that, oftentimes you'll end up having like low relatedness with that as well, right?
100%.
Because when you put all this attention into something, sure, it seems backwards, right? But they're almost weaken that bond because you're working so hard for something.
Yeah.
And that bond between that friendship, it almost drop, right?
And so it's just something that you really want to be careful about is where am I placing that attention in my life? Because if I'm placing that attention on other people, then I'm taking that attention away from myself.
Well, if you're putting it on those other people, you're taking away from yourself, your work, your school, all these other things that need to be focused on, right? On something that you can't control, because you can control your work, you can control your school, you can control yourself. Yet you're pulling all of that, probably what should be 95% of your attention in that stuff, and putting that all into something that's out of control.
Yeah.
It just seems super backwards, right?
It is really backwards.
It's something that I guess lots of people end up, it just happens without you really realizing it, right? Which is kind of unfortunate, but.
And so the way to overcome FOMO is very simple. It's that you need to begin looking for the things that you deeply desire internally rather than externally. So some of the things that people with FOMO deeply desire, and all of us deeply desire as human beings, happiness, love, satisfaction,
attention, or is that
not necessarily attention? I think
I guess attention is in those other
attention
ones.
The reason that we want attention, what's the root cause of us wanting attention?
Those.
It's to feel recognized, to feel appreciated. So look at these root causes of the things that you desire. Now stop looking for those things externally.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you do it, you're screwed. You're gonna have FOMO.
Yep. That makes sense.
If you do it internally, then if you look for these things just within yourself and realize that you already have these things, then you're not going to have FOMO anymore.
Well, yeah, because you can do them for yourself, right? Like, that's what it comes down to.
You don't need
to be
yourself.
What's this? Love yourself, man.
Love yourself.
That's
pretty much.
That's what it is. Like,
I don't know what reference you're talking about.
I don't either. I thought it was, but then I was like, that's not right. I was
like, you are not.
I thought it was something, but I was like...
That's so funny.
I mean, there's probably some Vine from back in the day. Everything was on Vine, man.
That's funny.
But yeah, like what it really comes down to is you can do it all yourself.
Exactly. You can do it all yourself.
It's all about realizing that I don't need anyone else. You really don't.
Yeah.
I mean, the way society's built makes you feel like you do. But if you do like meditation, what's it called? When you're thinking introspection.
Yeah.
You can really realize
a little bit of mindfulness, sprinkle some mindfulness in there.
I can bring everything that I desire from myself.
Yeah.
You don't need anything else, right?
And here's a good thought experiment. If every single person, and this is going to be very cruel, and I hope this happens to nobody, but if every person in your life that you care about disappeared tomorrow, would you still be able to carry on with your life? That's a question you need to ask yourself, because is it going to suck? Yeah. Are you going to be sad? Absolutely. Is it terrible? It is terrible. But if you will die if this happens, then there's a problem.
Yeah, it's like, but you should still be able to move on.
You should. I'm not saying you're not going to be sad. I'm not saying it's not going to be difficult. But will you be able to move on? There's some people, they lose a person or two in their life, and they fall apart. For the next 10 to 20 years, they are in pits of depression and sadness, and they can't seem to pick themselves up. It seems that when that person left, they took you with them, and they just left your corpse. If that's the case with you, then there needs to be some serious introspection. You need to really evaluate your life and look at yourself as a human being, because that could happen. That could happen tomorrow. So what are you going to do should that happen?
Yeah, I think, well, even if that does happen to someone, right, they just have to then look inwards and realize that they can come to the realization they can do things by themselves. They don't need that other person. It is tougher to do it once that kind of lifeline's dragged away, but it can still be done.
It can still be done.
That's kind of like getting thrown in the deep end and say, here, you don't know how to swim? Learn to swim. Good luck. You'd rather learn in the shallow end than have to get chucked in the deep end to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
Which is through...
Be a little proactive with it.
When you have those social...
Don't wait for that day to come.
When you have those social kind of connections there, slowly just try to work on yourself. Like, you don't know... It won't weaken your friendship. Like, people think, hey, if they look about themselves, they're going to lose these other things. That's not the case.
And that's often the case with people with FOMO. They believe that if I'm not there 100% of the time, then I'm going to be forgotten. I'm going to be tossed away at sea, and just forgotten amongst, the waves in the ocean.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. If this is your belief, then what you're going to do is you're going to create resistance in your relationships. You're going to create resistance within your own life and end up losing those people.
Yeah.
It's very counterintuitive, but you need to be confident enough in yourself and whole and complete within yourself enough that you don't need those people to be in your life.
What is that saying? It's like, if you love someone, let them go, and if they come back, then it's meant to be. Is that like that saying?
Yeah,
but it's that same, like,
that's a stupid
I guess when
saying.
it's like your bunny thing. It's like, if you hold something tight, you'll kill it.
Exactly.
So if you just let them go on their big lead, they'll come back.
Like, you need to be confident enough within yourself to know that when I step away, that doesn't mean I'm going to disappear.
But if you then end up disappearing, then maybe those friendships weren't meant to be.
Yeah.
Right? That's what that shows. It's like,
it's a tough
if
realization,
you can go back
but yeah.
and then come back and they're still there, then it's like, hey, look, these friendships are good. They're what I need. They're meant for me, right? But then the other way, you go back, come back, they're gone. It's like, okay, maybe they weren't the right people for me, but I can grow from this and be a better person.
Yeah. There's this really amazing quote from Epictetus, who, I feel like I'm saying his name wrong. He's a Greek philosopher.
Yeah.
Anyways, he basically said, when things come to you, put your hand out and take it in moderation. But if things pass by you, then do not chase them. And if things aren't even anywhere in sight, then don't reach your will out to try and drag them closer. Simply wait for them to come. Right?
Yeah.
And he said, do this in terms of your relationships, your marriage, with your children, and with your riches, and with your public posts. So, like, if you ever want to become a person of power. So he said, do this in these circumstances. This is exactly FOMO, right?
Yeah.
He's exactly talking about FOMO. With your friendships, if they come to you, don't overburden it. Take it in moderation.
Yeah.
Don't, like, if you're friends with someone, first, don't overburden them with things. And if they try and overburden you, like, step back. Do it in moderation. If they pass by you, then simply let it pass. And if it's not near you, don't try and force it. People often try to force the things. They try to drag those friends closer to them. They see things drifting apart. They try and close that gap, right?
Yeah, but with
the sheer will of their force.
Just inevitably pulls it further away.
Exactly. It inevitably pulls it away. So one of the ways that you can kind of take this internal aspect and get rid of this FOMO is through gratitude, right? When you realize the blessings that exist in your life, then you don't need to pursue the the things that you're missing out on. Right?
Because you feel like you're blessed enough and you've got everything you really need.
Exactly. So if this other thing passes by me, I'm totally fine with letting it pass by me. That's the idea.
And if it comes out and lands in the palm of your hand, then awesome.
Exactly. 100%. You know, gratitude is really one of those fundamental things. So we're going to talk a little bit of a reflective exercise.
Yeah.
This is a really good thing. You know, if you have FOMO, do this exercise with us. And it'll really help with that FOMO. So basically, what you're going to do is the next time you're out with your friends and somebody takes an Instagram picture, posts on their social media, whatever it is, when you get home that night, take a step out of your own shoes. Look at that post as if you weren't there with your friends and say, how would this post be interpreted by other people in the best way possible, right?
Yeah.
So, right, it's, wow, it seems like they had a ton of fun. They're engaged. It was a really amazing experience. It was really blasted out of proportion. What you'll realize is this is absurd. This perception of what the event was and what it actually was are two completely different things.
Yep.
Oftentimes, what is perceived of the picture or the post is 10 times better than the actual thing. And you know that because you were there at the actual thing, and now you've taken a step out of your own shoes. So you can make that comparison.
Yeah.
So now that you've made that comparison, the next time you're feeling FOMO and you see a post and you see a thing that's making you feel like you're being left out, now what you do is you remember, wait, odds are this is 10 times better than I'm making it out to be.
So you're mentally tricking yourself and training yourself.
I'm making it be 10 times better than it actually is.
You're training your mind to understand that things aren't as good as they appear.
Exactly. Especially on social media. Yeah. Especially on Instagram. Especially on these platforms that are designed to make things appear far better than they actually are.
Make them look perfect, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. You know? It's insane. You know, these platforms are very well made. And they're definitely made to exemplify the emotions that you feel about certain things. Yeah. Right? So that's an exercise you can do. The next one is what we call the 3 checks. The 3 checks of FOMO, Hudson. So what are these 3 checks? Every time you're feeling FOMO, do these 3 checks. Number 1, you're going to do a head check. So what is a head check?
Yeah, what is a head check?
A head check is when you check your own logic. Put your logic into check, your brain check. So you're going to ask yourself a couple of questions. You're going to ask yourself, why did you want to be there so badly?
That's a good question.
Logically, right? You're right here. You're not talking with your heart.
You're talking with your head.
The heart check is later. Right?
It's all about the brain.
It's all about the brain. So you're doing this, the logic check, right? Why did you want to be there so badly? Was this thing that you wanted to be there so badly for, was it actually of value? Would it add value to you as a human being? And would it add meaning to your life if you were there? Would it add meaning to your life if you were there? If that is not, like, once you answer these questions, it'll help you sort of realize, you know, maybe I don't care about it that much. Maybe I've blown it out of proportion in my own mind. So that's the head check. Number 1. Number 2, the heart check. So now you're going to sort of look at your own heart.
These are the emotions?
And exactly, these are your emotions, right? So you're going to ask yourself, how did I feel in the moment? Right?
Like when you saw the post?
When I saw the post, right? When I saw the post, when I felt left out, how did I feel? Right? Next, how did the other people feel in the moment?
When you saw in the photo.
The people in the photo, how do you think they're feeling in that moment? Reflect on your own past experiences. You've been in the Instagram post before. You've been in those pictures before. So now look, when you were in those pictures, how did you feel? Was it really an amazing, life-changing experience like you're making it out to be? Are these assumptions that you're putting in your head about how these other people are feeling, or is it true? Ask yourself these questions. And lastly, you need to say, am I projecting these feelings, my own feelings and my own insecurities onto this event? Am I having something, maybe my day was not that great. Maybe...
Oh, like you're saying how it impacts your life. The event impacts your life?
No.
Or so how you're impacting other...
Exactly. Like how you are projecting. Like, so for example, let's say I had a really emotional day at work. I come home, I see this post. Oh man, I missed out. Now I'm going to be projecting... Oh my God. I'm losing my voice.
You're going to be projecting this onto...
You are going to be... Exactly. You're going to be projecting this emotion from your work day onto this event, making it be way bigger, way more dramatic than it actually is, right? So are you projecting those own feelings of yours onto this thing? Or are you actually being logical? Odds are it's going to be the former, right? Yeah. You're going to be projecting. Okay. And this last one, oh my goodness, I don't know.
You just need to not drink caffeinated drink.
Yeah, but it's like water. Liquidy. Okay, anyways.
So is coffee.
Yeah. So the last one is the gut check. So this is possibly one of my favorite checks. So what is a gut check? First, think about a time in your life which you felt whole, complete, inspired. You know, you felt like you were really in your element, right? An experience where you were just like, you think about it, you're like, man, this was a 10 out of 10. I felt myself. I felt great in this moment.
Okay.
Now, look at this thing that you missed out on. Do you believe that it's going to give you, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being that absolute best experience, do you think it's going to, like, where do you think it's going to rank on that scale? How's it going to make you feel? Okay. You think it's going to add meaning to your life? Do you think it's going to be something that's really, you know, you're going to feel like you're in your element. You're going to feel like you belong there. You're going to feel whole there. You're going to feel complete there. If it's not an 8, don't give it another thought. If it's not an 8.
8's not even that high. That's 80%.
If it's not an 8, don't give it another thought. Because if it's not an 8 and you were invited, you should have said no.
That's interesting.
Right? So if it's not an 8, don't give it another thought. And that's a really good way to just scale up these events that you're missing out on, because oftentimes you make them way better than they are. So when you kind of rate it compared to your own sort of life experiences, you can see, okay, wait, maybe this is a 5. This is a 3. Like, I wouldn't even feel that great if I went.
Yeah.
So why am I so touched that I didn't get a chance to go? Right? That's what it comes down to. 3 checks.
Makes a lot of sense.
100%. So yeah, that is our episode about FOMO. We hope you guys enjoyed. To recap, FOMO is a fear of missing out. The research kind of relates to FOMO being linked with social media use. So be careful how you are using things like Instagram and Snapchat and Twitter. Make sure that you're being mindful with their use. If you are experiencing FOMO, be sure to do our 3 checks. Reflect a little bit about how past experiences made you feel. Sort of try to apply those into your life. If you guys enjoyed this episode, you can catch the full video podcast on YouTube. The full audio podcast is out on all platforms. Also, be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok for daily content, where we'd love to get to know you guys more. Be sure to follow us on Twitch, where we go live every single Sunday, and you guys can interact with us. Thank you.